Before we begin, we want to be clear that this conversation reflects spiritual beliefs and personal experiences. This is not medical or mental health treatment, and we encourage anyone dealing with serious health concerns to seek qualified professional care.
Welcome in here on Zion Media, and I am so pumped for this podcast. Yes, you're seeing Keith Redford, but we have an amazing guest for you today, Jill Butt. Listen, there's been a lot of talk about SRA and especially in the Mormon community. And you even saw me do some episodes on, I had people on about SRA, and then I got called in by the stake president, and there was a guy, Elder, what was his name? Checkets. That's right. Elder Checkets from the 70s showed up there. And it was my wife and I in the stake president's office. And they were looking at me and asking me why I'm talking about these things on my podcast. Now, Elder Checkets, great guy, about 6'5", big guy, very intimidating guy. He happens to be a partner at a place called Curtin and McConkie. Anyways, long story short, I said that I would go ahead and take down those SRA videos. And I went to the Lord and kind of said, hey, I'm willing to follow the key holders. And I even told him in the meeting, listen, if you tell me to shut down Zion Media, like I will do that today. You're my key holders. I respect that. And if you tell me to do whatever, like I'll do it. I like, if you guys think that I do these podcasts because like it's what I want to do, like, you got another thing coming. This is not what I want to do. This is dad telling his son, do this. And I'm like, I don't want to mow the lawn, Dad. And he's like, mow the lawn. As long as you live under my roof, you'll mow the lawn. And I'm like, well, I like your roof, so I'll mow the lawn. And I respect the keys. And I sat through that meeting. They did revoke my temple recommend. So I haven't been able to go to the temple since that meeting for discussing these things. I also held a sacrament meeting that I did not get permission to hold at Adamon Diamond at a retreat. You were there for that retreat. So I got in trouble for that. I apologize. I thought since home church and COVID, like you could do that. I didn't understand that you got to get permission. There's some freaking handbook that if the Spirit told me to do the sacrament. How was the sacrament for you?
That was one of the most powerful I've ever been in.
So we did the sacrament. I didn't realize that's a problem. So I won't do that. I'll never do that again. You can even see in our last retreat, and Keith was there at our last retreat, I did not do the sacrament. We did 3 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, just remembering the Savior, and we did not partake of the sacrament because they asked me not to. I follow rules. If somebody tells me not to do something, trust me, I used to not follow rules. I went to prison for that. So now I'm following rules around here. I don't even speed anymore. And so long story long, I took down those SRA videos. I have not talked SRA, and I went on a quest. I went to the Lord and I said, what do you want me to do with this? He said, I don't want you to expose it. I want you to heal it. I'm like, me? Heal it? Sure. Okay. He says, well, not necessarily you, but you know how to do it. I put Keith Redford in your path. I'm like, okay, got it. So I went up to Keith Redford's house. He doesn't know this part. I'm on Jehovah's errand. And I showed up there, and he just thinks I'm just some freaking podcaster, want to make a buck around here. Listen, if I wanted to make a buck around here, I'd be doing real estate. That's how you make a buck around here. I know how to make a buck around here. But that's not what Dad wants me to do. Dad wants me to be a lawnmower, not a real estate developer. So I'll be the lawnmower. I'll do whatever Dad tells me to do. So I went to Keith Redford's, and I started this process of like, hey, I'm really interested in your stuff. But my purpose was to do what my dad wanted me to do and help heal it. I'm not the healer of it. I'm not going to do the modality. I can't sit in a class. I got ADD. You think I'm going to sit through a training? Are you kidding me? That's not how I roll, right? He can. And Jill can. So we're joined by Jill, who is a SRA victim. I think, is that true?
Yeah.
Survivors. Well, I put it, yeah.
And so, we are going to share her healing story. It happened right in front of people's face. Keith did it this past weekend. Now, before we get into her story, and explain her story, I'm going to have her sit on this podcast, and I'm going to explain how people can heal from SRA. I'm not going to explain. I'm just going to host. I'm going to let the experts explain what it is Live is. So there's Behind the Curtain, which Keith Redford has created, and the quickening modality. What we've done is we've done a partnership agreement. Now, Keith, do I have anything signed with you?
Nothing at all. Not necessary.
Keith and I have an agreement with each other. I'm going to live up to my end of the agreement. He's going to live up to his end of the agreement. And we are going to begin to heal people. Now, again, I'm not the one doing the modality. I'm just the orchestrator of a lot of things. I'm a good sales guy. I'm a good marketer. I'm a solid business guy. But Dr. Shane here and Keith Redford here, they are restorers. And whatever has been working on, hasn't been, whatever people have been trying to have work on this planet, guess what? It doesn't work. Whatever pill, powder, or potion, or counseling session, or therapy, or a therapist, you know, if you break the word therapist down, I'm not even going to say it. You can do it. Finish the sentence. So whatever you've been doing, it's not working. So what is the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
So we got to do something different. And Keith Redford, for the last 30 years, he's known this. He's been doing something different, but nobody wanted to hear what his different was because it threatens the institution of therapists, of counselors, of medicine, of Pfizer. It threatens that. Satan knows that. And so what Satan didn't equate for was Zion Media. What Satan didn't equate for is the remnant, because the remnant knows. And Jill experienced the healing and she learned how to teach it. So not only is she, it's like the Just for Men guy, not only am I the owner, I'm also the user. The same thing, right? And so we are here to teach people how to do this, how they can do it on themselves, and how they can help heal other people that are suffering. Because the main mission of the Savior was to reduce suffering, to allow him to take your suffering, give it to him, he'll take the suffering, right? That was the main mission, and that should be our mission. His work in glory should be our work in glory. Okay, with all that said, I am joined by Keith Redford. We've had him on before. And Jill, again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited for you to share your story, but for you to talk about the miracle that was also performed. I see like when I first met you and now seeing you now, it's like I'm seeing somebody who's been reborn, like a new creature. Even though you look more radiant today than the day you showed up there. Because I feel like maybe you've unloaded some burdens, but we'll get into that story. So hang with me on this podcast. Keith, we've had you on the show before.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that have been added. I think we had you on the show when we had about 10,000 subscribers. Now we're at about 20,000 subscribers. So Keith, let's just overview, like quickly, not how you got here, because I think most people understand that. Like, you healed your wife that had been dealing with multiple personalities. Through revelation, you received this modality and how to do it. But let's jump in a little bit as to where we are today, what's going on today, what you're seeing today. We'll bring in Dr. Shane, who is also, I told Dr. Shane, okay, well, let me rewind a little bit, because this is the first time you've been on Zion Media?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the story, okay? This guy comes to the Adam on Diamond, the sacrament meeting that I got my temple recommend taken away for, okay? The next day, he calls me. And did you witness miracles at Adam on Diamond?
I did. I really did.
Did you got to speak up, because we're doing this weird mic thing. Did your wife experience miracles at Adamandayaman?
The greatest miracles we've ever experienced in our lives. Yes.
Without going into detail, can you share the miracle that your wife experienced, how that went down, where that went down?
We were at Adamandayaman. We went down to a grove there, and my wife had a baptism of fire, the likes of which I did not know existed
During a blessing.
during the blessing.
How many priesthood men were in the circle?
And a dozen, maybe.
Who was giving the blessing?
I was.
And what happened?
She had a baptism of fire. Her body shook. I've never seen anything like it. But she has been forever changed since then.
Okay. Amazing experience.
That word does not cover it.
So the next day he called me, he said, Shane, I'm moving to Farmington. I said, oh, that's cool. Where are you moving to? He's like, don't know, but we're coming to Farmington. I said, like, you don't have a place? He's like, nope. I said, how can you just pack up and leave? He said, in June, the Lord told me, sell my house. You guys were living in Kansas City?
Yes.
Said, the Lord said, sell your house. So they sold their house, put everything in storage. Didn't know why, because the Lord hadn't told you what to do yet.
No.
Freaking Lehigh over here. And anyways, came to Adamandayaman. They were doing some Airbnbs. Almost, you found a place.
We were getting ready to close on this place that we had found, and for some reason they needed one more bank statement to seal the deal. And so we went online and we tried all morning. This is the morning after Adamandayaman, so Monday. And we tried, and for some reason we could not get the electronics to work. So Ashley comes with the bright idea. She goes, fine, we'll just go to the bank. We'll go to the bank and get them. There's just one problem. It's Columbus Day. They're all closed. Just happens to be Columbus Day. So we decide to go to lunch. And in the middle of the lunch, Ashley puts down her fork and she looks at me and I'm looking at her, and we both have the same impression from the Spirit at the exact same time. Without saying a word, I turn and go, yeah, we need to move to Farmington. That's what the Lord wants.
You didn't have a place rented yet, though.
No.
He calls me on the road. He doesn't have a place rented. And I'm like, you're moving to Farmington, but you don't know where? He's like, no. And then what happened?
Literally on the way to moving from Kansas to Utah, literally on the way, we get a call that somebody knows somebody, and there just happens to be a place for rent. And we call the landlord. And she's going through some stuff, and she's like, you know what? I just have a really good feeling about you guys. We're not going to do any of the background, any of these kind of things. You guys just move right on in, and we'll take care of it.
Little did he know it's 2 blocks from my house. He didn't even know where I lived. So now he lives 2 blocks from me. So the Lord is moving mountains, as one could say. So he moves out here, and I'm like, okay. Guy just moved out here, experienced these things. Is in a position where he doesn't have to work, but would like to work, but he doesn't want to work in any Babylon stuff. So as I'm praying about what to do with the SRA stuff, and I'm getting in trouble, and my temple recommends being revoked, and I'm on the verge of them probably going to excommunicate me because I don't know, I did a sacrament meeting, or I'm doing gatherings, or whatever. They're no grievous sin, but whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. And I've never shared this on the podcast, but now's probably as good a time as ever. This was happening back in November, December. Maybe my sick presence is going to call me in for this one, but whatever. So I'm praying like, okay, I know I have to figure out how to heal SRA. I know Keith Redford's here, but he lives in Manti. And this problem is big. This is big. There are people going on my friend Jason Preston's podcast. This is big. I'm meeting with Jason Preston privately. I'm having conversations with Tim Ballard privately. This is big. There's a lot going on. There's a lot more that I can't even share that I know that's going on. But I'm just like, okay, what do I do? And the Lord says, Dr. Shane's there. He needs to learn how to do this. He has the gift. I'm like, okay. So then I say, I pull him over here. You remember me telling... before I knew this, I pulled them over here. I said, you guys don't need to worry about how you're going to make a living. The Lord will provide. So they look at me. I'm like, just trust me. They're like, okay. The next day I'm like, hey, there's an opportunity that came up. Imagine that. I am starting a company called Live. It's called Live, stands for Live in Virtue. If Dre or somebody, you can show the logo. Live, you will find those same symbols on your garment in the logo. So it's very symbolic. And I will tell you this, Live is going to help people live, not die. If people are dying around here, it's because they haven't learned how to live. Enoch learned how to live. Melchizedek learned how to live. Christ learned how to live. And so part of Live is helping people through the behind the curtain, the quickening, the valley of the soul. And what we do in Live is we do a full body healing, full body. Like whatever ailments you got, we know how to restore those organs. I've done it on myself. He's seen me go through it. It's not a pleasant thing. I healed my intestines. I could tell you about that story. But for today, there it is. So you see the L, there's the square, you see the check mark, and then you see the line above it. Now, when we created this logo, did we know what we were doing?
No, we spit around. We spit out a lot of different ideas, and I don't even know if I told you this, but the three of us were sitting there, right, and we were throwing around ideas, and I just said a silent prayer. I said, God, if this is your company, if this is what you want it to be, then tell us what you'd like it to be named, and just we came up with the idea, Live, and it wasn't until the very next day that we're like, oh, we like this name, and then we noticed what it looks like, what it resembles. And I said, I don't know if anyone will believe the fact that we got this idea for a name, and only afterwards we realize what it actually looks like and what it is.
Yeah. And in order to live, you must live in virtue. Let virtue garnish thy thoughts unceasingly. Then shall your confidence wax strong in the presence of God. What is the presence of God? But to receive a full endowment of power from God, be filled with his spirit from head to toe, where there is no more darkness, only light exists. That is virtue, and that's how you live, and that's how you stand in the presence of God inside of you. And so through this process with Keith Redford, Live was formed. And then I told Daniel's son over here, I said, that's a reference to the Karate Kid. I said, your job is to go learn karate from Mr. Miyagi, who's Keith Redford. I said, you got to learn everything from this guy. 3-day training. I got you in. He went to the 3-day training, and then he's just been at Keith's hip. Keith, what do I do here? What do I do here? How about this? What about this? And you have worked on how many clients at this point, would you say, since you learned the mode? When did you take the training?
It was in the middle of November.
So the middle of November, we're now at the end of January. And how many clients have you been able to restore?
I'd say 40, 45.
Okay. So he's been very busy. And his schedule's packed. He's booked 6 weeks out right now. So I'm like, okay, people are sick or otherwise afflicted, and they need to be healed. And it's from SRA, which understand this. We are all broken. All of us. Some of us are broken less than other people. So on the broken meter, we got 1 being the least broken, 10 being the most broken. We're talking 10 full on multiple personality, full on SRA, full on like needing to be potentially hospitalized. Now, I have a friend. He doesn't like when I bring up his name, so I won't. I'm telling you, he was at a 10. I had to take him, check him into a mental hospital, pump him full of Risperdal because he couldn't function in society. He could have hurt himself. He could have hurt his wife. He could have hurt somebody else. And I had been skeptical, to say the least, of behind the curtain because it's different. So what I said, well, just because I'm skeptical does not mean that it doesn't work. So I said, he's sick. I've given him blessings. Didn't work. And I got faith, and he has faith. But those take much prayer and fasting. Now we think this kind of prayer, not that kind of prayer. I'm talking about the kind of prayer that's in Live. Sometimes, Keith, how long does it take? How much prayer did it take with your wife?
Oh my heavens! That was a constant thing. There's a difference between the prayers that you kneel down and you offer, those that you have in your mind all day, and it's the ones that you think about all day that are the true prayers. And that's not to take away from the sincerity of kneeling down before your maker. Of course not. But if you kneel down, for example, and ask for a miracle and then go sit on the couch and expect it to happen without getting up and doing something about it, chances are that kneel down prayer is going to go unanswered. You have to get up and do something. So there's prayer, and then there's active prayer, you might say, where we get up and move forward. So back then it was an active prayer, day in, day out.
Yeah. And I could show you how bad this person was.
Mm-hmm.
In bad shape. I have him on video. He was in bad shape. Like, in my mind, that's like a 10. Now, what I understand now is what he maybe was like at an 8, where it's hospitalization, medication. But in my mind, it was a 10. It was like bad. It was going to ruin his life. Like, I don't know. It was bad enough for him to be hospitalized for 8 days. And so I didn't even send him to Keith, because I didn't want to. I'm like, I want to send him to somebody who he's trained, because I want to see if somebody who he's trained can actually do this. Because it's one thing to have some Jedi master do it, but can the Jedi master teach somebody else to do it? That's the real Jedi master.
Well,
so
let me interrupt you there, Shane. I want to point 2 things out that are critical in this. We have to keep in mind that we don't heal anybody. The Savior is the one that does the healing. And the way he does that is he gives us specific instructions on what to do. And if we just follow his instructions, well, then the healing will happen. The second thing is, this isn't about me. You ask my wife, I'm a great guy. She really loves me. And I've got friends, and there are people who might think highly of me, but when it comes down to this, it's not about me. This is teachable. Over the past past year, when we started going public with this, I think we've taught about 70 people now. And out of those 70 people, they come to the training with different interests. Some of it is just getting to know themselves. Some of it is getting to know their family members or friends. And some come to learn how to do this so that they can apply it as a restoration coach and actually go out and help people heal. In that case, those people are accomplishing the same thing that I've been doing for 30 years.
Yes. So I sent this man who was sick to Kathy. In 2.5 hours, he was healed. He's a better driver. And I'm like, okay, I want to see, before I really dig in and go all in with this, because I was skeptical, I was just like, let's see. And I saw this guy go from literally a maniac, suicidal maniac, to the most even. You know the guy.
I do.
You've been around the guy a lot.
A lot, yeah. He's never guessed. He is the salt of the earth, just a really good guy. I am honored to call him a friend, and you would never, ever suspect or guess that he ever had a past like that.
Now, hopefully he'll be willing to come on, share his experience like Jill is going to, because I'm seeing this with my own eyes. I am literally seeing this with my own eyes. I was with Dr. Shane just this last weekend, and I saw a lady who had neck pain and has had neck pain, hasn't been able to sleep well. She was even worried about us placing our hands on her head to give her a blessing. That's how bad her neck pain is. How long did you spend with that sister?
2.5, 3 hours?
He says 2.5. It was like 3 hours for sure, because I was in there with her husband having to figure out like the longest teaching appointment I've ever had. And literally she walks out I'm telling you, we got there. She looked like she was a dead woman walking. I just saw the most downtrodden, just like, and she came out of there and she was like radiant, light. She's like, my neck. And there was like a lot more things in her neck. She's had a double mastectomy. This person's born in 1989. An individual like this should not have gone through the suffering that she's gone through. But she is now cancer free. Her next, I have the text messages from her. I have her husband texting me like, wow, what is going on? And I've seen it with my own eyes. I can't deny it. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If we show up there with our little vial on our little keychain and we just walk in like we're the ministering family here to give a blessing that, again, is not going to work, that's not, the faith isn't there. They've lost the faith. So something different needs to be done. Something different has been taught. And even though it's different than what you've learned in your telestial kingdom, maybe terrestrial things are different than telestial. And maybe the terrestrial things are being taught here so we can move to the terrestrial. Because I'm telling you, Zion, there is no poor among them. What does that mean, poor? We think money poor. I'm talking poor health. I'm talking sick bodies. There are no poor among them. And this is just the beginning of the no poor among them. So, Keith, you've trained about 70 people. We have these trainings going on. Our next training is, if Drea can pop in here. Our next training, if you want to be trained. Now, you can be trained so that you can heal yourself. You can be trained because you just want to understand what it is and you want to be a better steward of your priesthood. Or you can be trained like Dr. Shane, and you can actually be paid just like any other counselor, therapist, whatever, coach. We call them restoration coaches. And yes, these people's time is money. I wish we could do this for free. I really.
Shane, you don't know this yet because I got the phone call late last night, but we're probably going to Hawaii at the end of March and April for training there. You're invited, by the way. And our people in Hawaii are making contact with your people, and then they're working it out.
Yeah, well, trust me, I've already got this on the docket. We're already looking at Airbnbs. So if you're like, I want to come to the training, I live in Minnesota, and I want to come to the training in Hawaii. Stay tuned for that one. It's going to be a week in Hawaii, Airbnbs, training, fun, beach, all of it. But if you're like, okay, I want to be trained. Now, we had people come to the training. We had somebody at the last training. She's a marriage and family therapist. She's now going to introduce this process into her therapy that she does. We have another guy who's helped 600 men overcome a pornography addiction. He was at the training. He's going to introduce this into what he does. So if you're watching this and this is you're already in the business of coaching or therapy or counseling, or maybe you're a psychologist or psychiatrist, come to the training. February 26, 28. We call it Live Restoration Coach Training. The link's going to be in the description for you to sign up. Spots will fill up very fast, especially when I post this. We didn't even market the last training, and we had like 30 people there. Spaces are limited, so get your spot. All the information, the cost, the 3 days, what's covered, what you learn, what you get, what it means to be a Live Restoration Coach. Like I said, if you want to be a full-on Live Restoration Coach, there's a path where we will give you people to work with. So we're going to give you the clients to work with. And if you're like, I don't want the training, I want to be healed, go to liveinvirtue.com. Sign up. There's a way that we call it the Live Path. Depending on your needs, it's 3 to 4 sessions long. For our last guy, it's 2.5 hours. He was good to go. But it's a 3 to 4 sessions. As soon as you sign up, you get an email. There's some meditations that we have put you into the right mindset. Then you'll meet with Dr. Shane or Kathy Hausman or many of the other limb restoration coaches that we're now training. We're going to put you with them. They're going to take you through what we call the integration process. We do a full assessment. We understand what's going on with you. And then, there's liveandvirtue.com. And then we do the full integration. We call it a full integration.
Yep.
Make sure that everything is dialed in. He explains the process, and we'll do a whole. Do you guys want to explain the process of what it is right now? Let's just do that. So
Here, pick me.
okay.
And I love your high octane, Shane. I just want to make a comment to clarify a few things. This is not so much a modality or a technique as it is a process. And if you are a psychoanalyst and that is your style and that is what you want to focus on, great. It works for you. If you are an energy working metaphysical person and that is your flavor of coaching, great. It works for you. The reason why is that it does not focus on any modality or any discipline. It focuses on celestial principles. And if you
like there's a hypnotherapist that I know that he's now adopted this process into his hypnotherapy practice. He said he's getting 10x better results. So
So we don't discriminate against any therapy model. In fact, we embrace all of them and say, hey, this is something that you can add to what you're already doing, and you are going to get results that are going to be life changing, not just in your clients, but in yourself as well. So that clarifies that. Now, can this be taught? Shane, Dr. Shane, as we call him. You are a living testament that yes, this can be taught. I hope you share with everybody what your background is and how closely related it is to your new career. And I say that kind of in jest, but the truth of the matter is this can be taught. And all I'm doing is I'm sharing with whoever will listen, whoever will come to the trainings. I'm just simply sharing the things that I learned. And so far I've worked with over 200 people that have had diagnosable multiple personality disorder. And out of those 200 people, 90% healed completely. The other 10%, well, some people just don't want it. And in some cases it becomes a sacred wound. And they just didn't go. But even if it only worked 30% of the time, statistically speaking, that is far greater than most conventional therapy models.
So Keith, if I'm suffering from, let's say, depression or anxiety, is that this process can help with, or even cure?
It will help it, if not completely cure it. We're careful not to say cure. But it will certainly help it, and it will teach you the skill set necessary so that you're not going back into that cycle.
Perfect. Okay, now Shane, I want you to talk about the integration. When you take on a client, somebody comes into you. Walk me through this process that you go through.
Okay. So what I do first,
route into that mic.
So what I do first is I sit people down and we do a Q&A. I explain them the principles, so they can have the understanding of how this works and why this works, what it is based on. And then we sit down and we talk about what it feels like, how to prepare to go behind the curtain. And then we start speaking to some of the different personalities, or as we call them, the altars. And we begin to bring light that has dimmed in their mindscape. We start to bring these altars back together. One of the big problems that we have today and that people see in the media is they think the best thing to do with these altars and other personalities is to destroy them. And if you understand what's really going on, you understand those are actually pieces of you And if you understood that, you would never want to destroy a piece of you.
How do these altars get created?
They're created through major trauma. And have all had major trauma in this life? Major trauma looks different for each person. It could be being forced to eat your dad's meatloaf. It could be going through a major divorce or separation. Each person processes and judges trauma differently, but one thing I can guarantee is that you do not get out of this life without going through some kind of major trauma in some way or another.
Could the trauma happen in the womb?
Yes. Yes. If your mother is experiencing heavy trauma while she's pregnant with you, that will absolutely imprint on you, and that will be something you will carry. So it can even be trauma you are experiencing almost secondhand through other people that are close to you that you love.
Yep.
So we're all going through trauma. We're all going through major trauma. Because of that, there are the altars or the personalities are created to help us with this. Otherwise, we would not be able to survive and get along in life. So all of us, to a lesser or greater degree that I have found in my experience, I haven't found anybody yet that doesn't have another personality or altar. And some people say to me, well, Shane, it sounds like you're saying everyone has multiple personalities. Like, that makes no freaking sense. Like, I don't understand that. And this is how I explain it to people. And I think people, especially in our church and background, will understand this better than others. But imagine if you are teaching the CTR7s, okay? And some years you have the best class ever. They'll sit down, they'll be very quiet, they'll be very good, they'll listen to everything you have to say, they'll raise their hands, they even know the answers. It's great. And then the year rolls over and you get the hellions. These kids will not stop talking. They're yelling over each other. They're running up. They're pushing you aside because suddenly they decided they want to teach the lesson. They're grabbing the chalk. They're drawing on the chalkboard, and it is utter pandemonium. And if you stop and think about this example, what you quickly realize is that the construct is the same. But the way that one class behaves is radically different from the other. They are essentially the same, but it is behavior that is different. And people who have diagnosable multiple personalities have the latter example there. They have the classroom that is trying to take over. They want to teach the lesson. They want to draw on the chalkboard. Most of us, those undiagnosed with multiple personalities, have a classroom that gets along and plays nice with each other. And that is ultimately the difference. So what we do is we bring all of the alters or personalities back together, back into one as they were in the beginning. That is restoration.
What about the demons?
We say trespassers.
Okay.
Trespassers also come in when major trauma is created. That creates an opening for them to come in.
Like pornography?
Yes, especially pornography and heavy drinking or other sinful behavior that we're taking to.
What about Xanax?
Xanax used excessively will also potentially open up some avenues for trespassers to come in. Those trespassers will stay. They will make a permanent residence inside of you, and they will impact things. So in order to completely restore this, we do something special with the trespassers. And this is part of the modality.
So you call them trespassers? Are they squatters? Are they renters? Like, they're not renters. They're not paying any rent.
They're not paying any rent for you. They're actually destroying your house.
Okay.
So they're like squatters, but worse. So no, these guys are not paying rent. They're not helping. In fact, they're doing the opposite. So what we do, and this is one thing I really love about this process, because again, it's focused on eternal principles, and we give them something that they haven't had in a long time, and that is agency. Yeah, we give trespassers agency, and we honor their journey as well as those of us who actually own and have these bodies. And this is what that looks like.
Have you guys seen that Chosen, where Nicodemus goes in to cast out the evil spirits, and he's like, "Get you out of there, you piece of mother!" Have you guys seen that? And talking to Mary, and he's like yelling at him, and he's not able to do it. But then when she sees Christ, he looks at her and he says, "You are mine." As soon as she says that, those trespassers are gone. She's healed. But anyway, it's okay. Keep going.
So we give the trespassers a choice. We honor their agency. and we invite them to return to Jesus Christ, to go through the repentance process, and continue on their path of progression towards receiving a body.
Wait a second.
It's crazy.
Wait a second. You're telling me that we don't just cast them out and send them to hell where they belong?
Well, let's think about this strategically for a minute. Let's say you and I want to play a game. And every time I put my army on the board and you put your army on the board, every time I knock off one of your guys, he goes to the back of the line and gets more experience and levels up again and again and again. And every time you get one of my guy goes off the board, goes back to level 0. You want to play that game? Because I'm probably going to lose, right?
Right.
Now, what if we change the scenario? What if we say every time I take one of your guys off the board, I bring him to my side?
It's a great idea. Maybe this is how Satan is bound for 1,000 years.
Help these trespassers choose ultimately what's best for them. They are our spiritual brothers and sisters. Have they made mistakes? Yeah. Have we made mistakes? Yeah. And if we ask them to return to the Savior and go through the repentance process, which by the way is the same thing we're doing, they can continue on their path of receiving a body. And people say, no, that doesn't make any sense. I've even talked to these trespassers and they say, I don't think I can do that. And the truth is, and I teach this.
You're telling me these trespassers talk to you?
Yes.
How do they talk to you?
The same way I'm talking to you now.
Through the host?
Sometimes through the hosts.
And they don't coming forward?
Yes.
Does the host, like, you put them in some kind of a magic spell or hypnotherapy or what? How do you do this?
No, we, this is something that is probably best if you come down and go through the process. You can observe it and be a part of it. It's hard to describe, but these altars and these trespassers are used to being ignored. And when you respect them and you believe in them, they will come forward and talk to you.
Okay, so then what? After you send them all back to Jesus, I love that. Hey, the light ball part, that's my favorite. Like, tell them about the light balls.
So what we do is we energetically, Keith, you want to tell them?
No, you're doing great. I'm sitting back here thinking, man, this guy paid attention in class. I couldn't explain it any better.
So what we do is when we meet the altars, we give them a gift, and that gift is a ball of light, a ball of energy, and they receive it through the host. And then what it does is it leaches out or takes away their negative feelings, their pain, their suffering, loneliness, the sadness, the depression, the fear, the anger, and it replaces it with love and peace and joy. And then it quickly grows and divides. So we're very quickly able to pass those around to every altar or personality there behind the curtain, which dramatically improves things. It brings in more light. And it's always amazing because after I do this with people, they always say, oh, it's so much brighter back here now. There's so much more light. That's exactly what it is. It starts changing things for people that fast. It is really amazing.
Okay, then what? So after so you've separated the light from the dark. I like how we do that. I want you to think of this. In the temple, the first thing they do, he says, worlds without number have I created. And then the first thing they do is they separate the light from the darkness, but they haven't created the sun, the moon, and the stars. So what? Maybe the worlds are you. Maybe you're the world. And maybe there is light and darkness inside of you. And maybe what Jesus does is he helps separate the light from the darkness. And maybe that's what this process actually is. Okay, so after you've separated the light and the darkness, then what?
Let me just say one more thing about the trespassers first, and that is the fact that many of them, because they're subservient to Satan, do not understand that they have a choice. And simply giving them the choice to return to the Savior changes everything for them. We are actually, this feels like a mission to me, where we are helping our spiritual brothers and sisters find redemption, but they didn't even know they had that option. And it's changing their lives and their futures as much as the physical person that we're treating as well, which is amazing.
Okay, then what?
After that, we unify all of the people, we relocate our trespassers, and then what we do is we make sure there's no more openings for other trespassers to get in. Then we go ahead and we help people stand in front of their higher self.
How do you do that? Is this the auric field stuff?
Yes.
Explain that part. That's important.
Metaphysicists have been able to quantify a certain field around each person that they call the metaphysical aura. It goes by many different names. You can call it an aura, or you can call it an auric field. I like auric field, but it is been discovered and quantified by metaphysicists. So I think that's amazing, because spiritual and the spiritual was
So do people have cracks in their auric field that allow these trespassers in?
yes. The trauma
How
itself.
does that happen? Sin and trauma?
Sin and trauma. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we will seal up that whole field so there's no more openings. After that, we have people stand in front of their higher self to confirm to them their purpose.
So this is where you take them to the valley of the soul.
Yes.
So after you button them up,
Yes.
then they're going to go on a journey to the valley of the soul.
Yeah.
Because guess what's happened down here? We've all forgotten our name. We've forgotten who we are. Oh, I know you now. So you need to remember. The temple teaches this. And so then in the valley of the soul, and this is done so once that's done, then you'll set another appointment up as part of this process that we take people through. Now it's time for you to go to the valley of the soul. It's time for you to remember who you are. It's time for you to remember the covenant mission that you're on. And so after we got you buttoned up, then we take you to the valley of the soul, where you meet your higher self. Your higher self then gives you instruction on what it is you're here to do. Because the only reason why people die is because they're not fulfilling the measure of their creation. They've forgotten what they're here to do. So part of the live process is to help remind you what you're here to do, because we can do all of this stuff, but then if you go back and you start doing all the same dumb stuff that you've been doing, like watching porn or sinning or whatever it is, you know what? It's going to we just sealed you up, but guess what happens? Now you created more cracks, and guess what's going to happen? They're coming back in. So understanding your mission is really important. That's why this is a process. So then you meet your higher self, you get your mission assignment. Okay, now the third thing you get is the full body healing. So then what happens is then we set up another meeting, because now you have your mission assignment. But if your body isn't functioning, like it's not functioning the way it needs to function in order for you to fulfill your mission, well, now we got to go talk to your organs. You guys have all done an initiatory. They bless all of these organs. You're going through for dead people, mind you, and you're blessing their organs. So you should all be asking yourself the question, why am I blessing organs for people that don't have a body? Well, that's a whole podcast in and of itself. I'll let you guys just on that. But here's the deal. Those vital organs are called vital for a reason. You know why they're called vital?
Educate us.
Well, they're vital because without them working right, you die. That's what happens. And so those organs those are vital. We're going to go in, we're going to talk to each one of those organs, and we're going to make sure your heart, your liver, your intestines, all of those things are working right. Anybody around here got IBS? Yeah. We've already experienced people that have IBS that have gone through this. Me, hello. And my intestines, I went through this process on myself. Once I learned this, once I'm like, you can talk to you, and I'm like, done. I got educated. I did pay attention in that part. I'm like, cool. I went in, I talked to my intestines. Dr. Shane, what happened after I talked to my intestines?
Your intestines were completely asleep, and you asked them to wake up, and they said back to you, "Are you sure?" And you're like, "Of course I'm sure." I'm like, "Okay, but it's going to be painful." And you said, yeah, I don't care. Like, bring it on. I'll do it. And then for a week, I kid you not, for a solid week, this guy went through some of the most intense intestinal agony that I have seen. But now
You saw it because I was on a road trip with you to Missouri while I was going, right?
yes, there were many embarrassing moments, many embarrassing sounds. Yes, but tell them about the benefits you've had.
So here's the benefits. I was 234 pounds when I started this process. I weighed myself this morning. I'm 207. So now things are working right. My metabolism is firing right. Things are working. Now, that doesn't mean, now, have I changed some things? Yeah, my intestines told me, you can't keep eating Big Mac, Shane. You can't do that. I can repair this, but now you got to give it the right fuel. So I said, okay, I'm willing to do that. And so I'm feeling my body different. I'm treating it different. And I'm not like hardcore exercising, guys. Like literally, I'm walking laps, old man style, around a track, because God rewards effort. We went this morning, right? Me, you, and our other guy. We just went. We walked and we talked and we did a couple miles walking. And I said, okay, if you'll get my intestines working right, I'll go ahead and do my part. Faith without works is dead. That's right. So I don't want my organs to die. So I'm going to treat them better. I'm going to do the right things. So we do a full body healing. We find out everything. Now there's some things that like literally we have seen people that have intestinal cancer. Do you want to tell that story?
So let me explain the principle behind this. The principle is everything is created out of intelligence. Even the illnesses, even the cancer, all of these different things have their own intelligence, and they are on a mission like all of us are on a mission. And sometimes they are still working on their mission. Sometimes they've completed their mission and they've forgotten to check in. So when I met this person who needed help with that, we started talking to the cancer that was in her intestines, and we started communicating with it. And I asked, have you completed the measure of your creation? Which it said, oh yeah, we've done that. I said, is there any reason for you to continue? And they're like, well, I'm not sure. So I asked them to simply check in with Jesus Christ and see if they are completed. And we waited for a minute. And they went away, did their thing. He came back and said, oh yeah, we're done. We don't need to do anything else. We'll leave. Now, sometimes when I've helped people with different illnesses, the illness comes back and says, this is what I need. I need this, I need X, I need Y. And sometimes it's been this person has something that's happened to them back when they were 10 years old and they've never faced it. And they need to emotionally process what happened to them. Otherwise, I'm here to kill them and destroy them because they're not on target. They're not fulfilling the measure of their creation. And since they're off purpose, I need to help them.
There's something in the Bible that says the destroyer will pass over you until you've finished your work here upon the earth. And if you don't finish the work here upon the earth, it comes and it destroys.
And it is just amazing. We can have these conversations with these intelligences because that's what they are. They are intelligence, just like we are intelligence. And so if you can, I guess, wrap your head around this idea that everything is comprised of intelligence, what can you do with an intelligence? You can communicate with it. You can negotiate with it. What we do.
Okay. And then after we've done all of that, that's the live path. And then you can choose to join one of our live communities where we continue to give you ongoing education, ongoing support, so that you stay on path, you stay on mission. So that's what we created with Live. And I'm grateful that Keith has been willing to do that. And what I wanted to do, let's see, we're 15 minutes in. Keith, do you have any thoughts? And then I want to get to Jill.
A couple of observations. Now, Shane's approach is different than mine. Not that there's anything right about it or wrong about it. It's simply different. The clients that I see, they show up and they say, hey, I have multiple personalities. I want you to meet this one, and this one. Okay, so my clientele are different. And I think that the reason for this is because the Lord is going to send the people to me that I can help, and they're going to send the people to Shane that he can help. And the only reason why I bring this up is to illustrate what I said earlier. It doesn't matter what your flavor of therapy is or procedures. This works for all of them. Shane, you're obviously having great success. And I think that that's fantastic. And there is no but on the end of that. I think that's fantastic. I wouldn't have changed anything that you said about the process or anything like that. The only thing that I would say is that when I started talking about these principles, 20, 30 years ago, man, what a whack job. What a con artist. People thought I was crazy for espousing these principles.
I think you that about Jesus too. I just want to throw that out there.
I'm in good company then. And now, as we move forward, the areas of quantum physics is catching up and substantiating the principles involved here. To be able to talk to different parts of your body and recognize that there is an intelligence there. Quantum physics teaches us now that that light and intelligence are a real thing, and it's what makes up our bodies, and it's what makes up everything for that matter. And so, if it has an intelligence and you can communicate with it, oh my gosh, then it's a matter of negotiation. So that would be my only observation there. My clientele is completely different than Shane's, but not so different that the principles don't work across the board. They do work across the board.
Talk to us about SRA, because we're going to get into Jill's story. This is something that people are like, there's no way, this can't be healed. This is what it is. You need a pill, powder, or potion just to deal with it.
Well, today, after this this interview, I'm going to continue working on my second book. My first book I finished last night. My second book is the working title at this point is Healing the Unspeakable. I would say let's just use 200 because it's exceeded that number now, but out of 200, at least 60% of my clients had a satanic element within their system. And this is the unpopular secret about this. SRA is actually fairly easy to heal once you are able to heal a system and integrate and unite the alter personalities. Most people who approach SRA, the first thing they want to do is jump in and cast everybody out. Well, if you do that without cleaning the place up first, all those trespassers are going to do is just go outside, and they're going to come right on back in and come right back into one of those cracks in the auric field that Shane has just described. So the approach is actually backwards to the way it should be. If you can heal the system first within, then there's no roots or no handle for the SRA to hang on to, and they have to leave. And it doesn't matter how severe it is. It doesn't matter. And of course, you learn a lot about satanic ritual abuse. All of this popularity, shall we call it, with SRA and with the brethren and all of this. My goodness, if you were to go over the demographic of people who have been abused by this person or that person, and you were to multiply it out, all of these people who are being accused, they don't have any time to do anything else if you were to believe all of the stories. So the logistics of it just aren't there. So there has to be another way that this is happening. Well, once you understand the mind-body system, there is another way, and it is just as real as if it happens here physically. And the point is, it doesn't matter where the abuse originated or how it came. A lot of people, I like the rattlesnake analogy. A lot of people are busy chasing rattlesnakes, and nobody seems to care about the person who's bit. I would rather focus my time and attention on helping those people who have been bit than try to find out what kind of snake it was and what were its intentions. So,
Can you take and explain to everybody how this process does not include abreactions?
Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, that's one of the reasons why this works so well. What an abreaction is, the best way to describe it is reliving the trauma. So the way that would work is a therapist would go inside the system, find a 5-year-old that was abused in one way or another, and then start asking questions as to how that happened. And then next thing you know, that 5-year-old, which is in a grown-up body, is now reliving the abuse second by second. And the first abreaction that I saw, I said, that's it. We're done with that. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, where is the justice and where is the sense in a loving Heavenly Father allowing a person to be abused because somebody is exercising their free agency in a terrible manner, only to have them relive the abuse to heal from it? Well, once you understand what goes on behind the curtain, then you can structure things in such a way to where they can heal very quickly without even having to address or relive the memories. And then when everything is done, after the energetic charge is removed from the memories, if there is a memory there that they want to explore, yeah, they can remember what happened. But it's at that point, it's like reading an article. It doesn't have the sting. And in my experience, my clients, when they are completely integrated and they've gone through the quickening process, they are more focused on looking towards the future and the life that they are now free to develop than they are in looking at the past and all of the details that were inherent with that. So that is one of the beautiful things about this process is you don't have to relive the past. In fact, reliving the past is counterproductive. It takes too much time, takes too much energy. Sometimes it's necessary to acknowledge those who have been through it. But even then, they really don't want that. They just want the hurt to stop. And if you know how to do that, well then, man, it is just so much easier. Abreactions and reliving the past are not necessary. In fact, they're counterproductive and they just take too much time. And when I'm talking time, my average client probably takes about 10 hours to work with them. And sometimes that's not all in one day. Sometimes that's spread out over a couple of weeks. It just depends on the person. And I have done marathon sessions. In fact, I used to do those all the time until I learned a few principles. But the point is, you shouldn't have to take it. It shouldn't take your entire life to get over your childhood. That just doesn't make any sense. You can heal. You can heal without bringing it all up. The past, that is.
So let's talk about Jill, and let's talk about what happened. Jill came to the training. I'm not 100% sure the backstory there, but let's talk about Jill and what happened there, and then let's get into her story.
Well, okay. From my aspect, the first time I met Jill was, I guess, day one at the training, and I noticed her little name tag said Jill, and quite honestly, her husband came in and thanked me, and I'm thinking, well, okay, this is kind of unusual. Usually they thank me after the training, but he thanked me before the training and said what an honor it was to meet somebody who found the truth by wanting to help a loved one. Okay, that's it. That's all I knew about them. And then it became pretty obvious. I don't know if it was obvious to others, but it became very obvious to me that Jill had more than one personality because they were coming forward. And it was fun to watch different ones come forward and ask different questions. And that happened just right after the other. Of course, I didn't let on. That would just be rude of me to start pointing out all the people that have alter personalities. Trust me, about half of the room in most trainings is dealing with this, and they don't even realize it. So that was everything that I knew about Jill and her husband until about day 3, and then they said, "This is the lady that was on a podcast," and I had to really think hard because I didn't remember her being on Zion Media or any other podcast. And then it wasn't until somebody pointed out to me that she was on another podcast as to who she was. And didn't matter to me. To me, I just thought she was a very pleasant person, her and her personalities, and her husband was a very upstanding, nice guy. And that is where that is all I knew about her.
Okay, Jill, do you want to take it from here? Tell us a little bit about your backstory, and then let's get into your experience with Keith and this process.
So is it good enough if I just simply say that I was conceived through a ritual? I born and raised in it, in the SRA, and at some point it was MK Ultra. That's the way I put it now. So, my husband and I have been dealing with this our entire marriage. After my first child was born, I started having seizures. What appeared to be like seizures. They were like grand mal seizures where my whole body would shake. And the first one started on a Thursday night when I was at the temple. And then I had another one on Sunday at church. Both of those times I went to the ER. At that time they said I was having a seizure, except for the fact that I was coherent and I could track, my eyes could track, and I could move my pinky. So they were like, she's not having a normal seizure. And at the time they didn't have a definition for that. That wasn't a type of seizure they were aware of. And I went in for some therapy, and then just once or twice, and then they stopped and didn't have any more until 2001. And it was actually 25 years ago this past weekend that they started, and I started having these, as you guys call them, aberrations. Is that right?
Aberrations.
And it started that one night our kids were in bed. Michael's home from school. He was doing golf, and we lay down to go to bed, and I start reliving massive trauma. Massive, horrific experience. Michael explained this when we did an interview with Jason Preston, and that was just released 3 weeks ago. So, and Michael explained it that I had my hands up above my head. I had my hands, I remember holding my hands like this up against my bedpost when my feet were crossed, and he tried to pull them apart and he could not. And he just felt very strongly to listen, to trust, and just listen to me. So we dealt with that for a long time. And I have these sometimes nightly, and they'd last for hours, and then life would go on. So 25 years later, done a lot of healing. I have chosen the route to seek God. For me, it's been a very personal healing, and doing it mostly on my own. I did do a psychotherapy or a hypnotherapy session once, and I explained in the training that in that hypnotherapy session, I was laying there on this table, and the lady starts the hypnotherapy, and I was aware of everything going on in the room. And she went and sat behind the desk and started eating her food for lunch. She's sitting on the ground behind the desk, and I could see her. And it wasn't until doing this training that all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, how was it that I could see her sitting behind the desk and see that she had, takeout food, Chinese food, and she's sitting there eating it. So this was fascinating. As I did this training this past weekend, I was introduced to it. I had a neighbor share with me about Keith. We watched all of the videos that he has available online. And Michael, my husband, learned so much from them. And that's why when he first met Keith, he was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, because he already had gained so much from his videos. As had 2 of my boys. have watched those with us. So we come into this training, and I know that somehow for me, now I can put it in different than I would have even a couple of days ago. There was a split personalities, but instead of being back behind the curtain, they were all right here. And we had thousands of babies that hurt. And we had protectors, and we had tons and tons and tons of trespassers. And I've had experiences where the protectors, I hope this can make sense to somebody. The protectors, like I'll be at church and all of a sudden I go into seizure and don't understand why. Like I'm fine. I know consciously I'm aware of everything going on. So I don't do the hard switch. I didn't do the hard switch. I was aware, but there was this switch in me that would happen. And I'd have these seizures. And then, which I realized through this, and Keith was saying and talking to me, he could notice the switches. So one that I noticed is the protector would come forward, and even in training, I started having a seizure. I was shaking. Very mild now compared to what we used to deal with. But then a trespasser frequently would come forward, and I have experienced seeing those demons leave. And it's horrific. So that's a little bit about what I experienced in the past. Do you want to ask me questions, or do you want me to try to go off of what you guys were talking about? And
Well, I think let's just walk through. I wasn't there, but my understanding is something happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I wish, like, of all the things we had to go on our blessed tour, but of all the things, like, that's what I would have wanted to see the most. And so I want to just get your perspective, Keith's perspective of what that was like, how that happened. I don't know if Drea wants to pop in here if she was there present, but I understand the whole class was able to see a live, I guess, watch this process live.
Well, it was the real deal. Here's one of the fun things, whenever you do a seminar or a training, it's always fun or not fun. It's instructional at the end of the training to give a demonstration, okay, on how this would work. And in something like this, what do you do? Do you put out an ad? Somebody who's got multiple personalities. I need you for a demo. No, I have never, ever had to worry about who's going to show up for that, because there's always somebody there that does. And that's how we got started. We needed a demo, and Jill was gracious enough to say, pick me. And she came forward, and we worked together there in front of the class.
Okay. Well, tell me about it. Give me some deets.
Sorry, Shane. It kind of happened quick. How long did it take, Jill? About 2.5 hours, something like that.
I don't think it was very long. Drea, I don't believe you were there when it started. Is that correct?
Drea, you're on mute.
I was there when it started, and I left after halfway through, like an hour through.
Well, one of the beautiful things about this, Shane, is if I had to work with people and remember everything that they went through, there's no way I could do this. So I don't have to. I don't have to hear the history. I don't have to hear the story. So oftentimes when I'm done working with somebody, if they were to ask me, do you remember this or do you remember that? I have to sheepishly say no, because from the beginning, from the onset, I view a person as complete and whole. They may be like a jigsaw puzzle with a few pieces missing, but we're going to find those and put them back in. And so I see them as complete and whole from the beginning. So when we get to the end and they are complete and whole, there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in between time that quite frankly, don't remember.
Yeah. So you went through the whole process, like we talked about, the altars, the trespassers, and you did the process there. Now,
Well,
from your
Well, it started out really easy because first of all, her um, her alter personalities were very distinct, and the protector personality had come out a day or so before, and through talking with that and through me instructing and teaching the class, the protector realized that I was not a threat, and in fact there was hope that that the system could come into wholeness. And so once the protector realized that, well, then it was easy at that point because I didn't have any resistance. And all I had to do was find out what her mindscape was like and who was who. And she had, I think, they meaning the alter personalities, told us that there were 1,300 babies, if I remember right. And we
what does that mean? 1,300 babies. You got to understand.
okay.
But are people watching this? Are like 1,300 babies.
Well, no, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And let me address that, because a lot of people say, oh, well, they can't have that many personalities according to the DSM-R or DSM, whatever the latest version is. An alter has to meet this qualification. Well, that may be true according to that discipline. But if you were to step behind the curtain and start arguing with the personalities as to whether or not they are a true personality, well, then you're defeated before you start. If they say that they are a personality, or if they identify as this or that, then we simply honor that. So the reason why she had 1,300 babies is because in their mindscape, that's how many children there were. And and you could call them inner children, very young inner children that were still holding pain from trauma. And we could have gone to each one of them and asked them what it is that you're holding and worked with each one. Or you can work with them in mass by bringing, in this case, we brought the light balls in and we're sharing them with everybody until all of the balls. You love that, don't you? Until all of the hurt for whatever it was, and some of it was physical pain, some of it was emotional. What the point is, each one of them held a particular energy. And our focus was to help them release that energy. And once the energy was released, then integration is almost automatic. It will happen. And so at that point, it was actually really easy. And one of the reasons why it was so easy to work with Jill was because she spent 25 years working on herself. So she has already gone through and released a lot of the emotional pain and baggage from her life. So when I got there, all I was doing was a little bit of cleanup, really. And of course, because it was an SRA situation, we had trespassers that came forward, and it was kind of funny because they came forward and took one look at me and they said, "Yeah, we know the drill. We're gone. We're leaving." Okay, fine. It's like the old saying, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And they chose on their own. The reason why is because the system was healing, and it was too bright for them. There was just too much light in the system at that point. And the only way that you can do that is by healing the alter personalities and the system. And then you address the SRA, and it'll pretty much take care of itself. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jill, I didn't mean to jump in there. What like on your point? Or yeah, you too, Drea, what did you guys see?
I just wanted to point out a few things just from the perspective of those that were there learning to help others go through this process. I thought it was so valuable, and so much gratitude to Jill for doing this for everybody so that they could see. We were able to pick up on how Keith could recognize switches, which I think is just invaluable for when you're communicating And then he's like, he's communicating with you, but then he's like, what's your name? And like, we were able to be like, there was a switch. Like when he recognized that, I think that was just very educational. And for those that are going to do this for other people, it was amazing. And
it really helps if you know who you're talking to. I'll
Yeah.
to that.
and you would seamlessly flow and honor each one that came forward and just validate and help them through. But then you'd be like, what's your name? And it was very interesting to watch. I'm sad I missed the last half of it because I had to go get my kids, but it was very emotional because Jill invited her sons to come, and I sat right behind them, and I could tell the whole family has been on a journey, and there was just so much going on during that time as we watched, and it was great.
If I could jump in for just 1 second, I don't think we can accurately describe the change in Jill. There are two people I watched very closely, and I'll admit I watched Jill and I watched Keith, and I was watching Jill to look for the switches and things like that. And one of the things I can tell you about Jill is she could not sit still for more than a minute or two, and I cannot tell you guys the amazing transformation that I see today versus the Jill I met last weekend. She could sit still. She's not shifting. Her focus is there. She looks clear. It's completely different to me. If someone had told me that was some other name, if they said, "Oh, that's Angie," I probably would have believed him. She looks so different to me, so clear now. The change is so distinct and remarkable. It's just amazing. And I just want to honor your journey, Jill.
Thank you, Shane. I want to clarify for the viewers, I did not talk to either of you, Shane. Actually, I didn't talk to you, Drea, at the training. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to any of you. But if one was to go and watch my interview with Jason on We Are the People and then come watch this, it is very clear. Drea asked me last night if I'd be interested in coming on and sharing a little bit. And I was like, okay, what do they want? And then I talked to Keith last night, and it was interesting because it's only been a few days. And there are things that I've noticed, but for the most part, I haven't noticed a huge change. So, but my husband and two of my boys were talking, and my boys were like, "Oh yeah, there's a change. There's a change in Mom. There's definitely a change." And that's been awesome. So I want to go back to when I first sat down with Keith to do this. He came and asked me as we were eating lunch if I would be good with being the one that he works with, and I had already asked the Father if that would be good and if I was okay doing that. And the answer had come very clearly. If Keith was to ask me, then yes, but I was not to go up and say, "Hey, I want to do this." And I never did. So we get started, and I had called my son Bryson, and Bryson was on the other interview with me also. Bryson lived just a few minutes away, so he was able to come. And that to me was so powerful because Bryson was my baby when I started 25 years ago having these memories. And he laid in my arms and laid next to me when I would have these seizures and when memories would come out. And so it was fascinating and so beautiful to see God's cycle of that full cycle of Bryson being there then and Bryson being able to witness this, I don't even know what you call it, this experience the other day. So we start, and Keith first off sits across from me and he just starts talking to me. He looks in my eyes, and don't really recall what he said, but instantly I start to kind of just curl up, and it's the babies. And I feel that pain and sorrow from the babies. So part of my answer with the babies is I would say that there was why we had such a high number of babies was a baby. Much of it was there was the physical abuse that took place as a child, but it wasn't that it took place 1,300 times. But each situation, each experience holds it on its own memory, but it holds it from many different aspects. It holds it from the spot body aspect. It holds it from a spiritual aspect. It holds it from an emotional aspect. And then there's all the trespassers that have come in, and the experiences that I have carried from generations. And I don't quite know how to explain that, but generationally. So there was a lot, but we took care of that. And then it was just all those that I have said I had integrated to a point where there was me, the core me, and then there was all the childhood experiences. But what I learned was there in this core me, there was a protector. There was a bunch. There were several. I don't remember. There was a protector. There was one that took care of the babies. And as I was going through the training, and Keith went through all the different types of the altars, I identified, yep, that one, that one, that one. And then in the childhood part was a bunch of the childhood experiences, all those that broke off during childhood, the trauma and experiences. So we brought them all together, and they talked, we talked, and we're able to combine and unite and be one.
Okay.
They're conscribed in one great whole.
Yeah. I got a couple questions for you, Jill. Did anybody die?
Okay. No. So this was something seriously that he starts to go through. Now, I've been through 2.5 days of training, and there was still a part within me that was like, are they going to kill me? Are they going to kill me? Are they going to kill me? And I vocally asked that because we can't just dismiss them. So he just assured me, no, nobody dies. Y'all assign them a new part.
And all the alter personalities, did we find one and say, for example, I don't like what you did, so we're just not going to include you?
Every part had its place.
Mhm.
And there was so much love, so much, okay, let's unite, and thank you for what you've done. And then it was kind of reassign and say, okay, now what do you want to do? And I want to play now, so I want to learn how to play. I've never learned how to use my imagination and play with my kids.
So right there at the quickening and the integration processes, what was the overall feeling that you experienced?
You had said, like, and I think one or both of the Shanes talked about that bright light. I honestly didn't see the light. I feel it though. But that's how spiritual things are for me. I haven't had that ability to see.
Mhm.
I felt whole. I felt we had cleaned everything inside of me, and everything, once we got rid of that mindscape and got it completely gone, and we cleansed the ground and everything, it just feels whole.
That's what we're going for.
Whole.
Wholeness.
and light.
Mhm.
And I have done a lot of praying. I have done a lot of searching and seeking and prayers every day in which I bind the enemy and loose God's angel armies. And this is something I have been doing daily for months. And this, what we did, it brought on a whole new perspective for me. So like, as I've been praying over the last couple of days, instead of commanding,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, any that want to come, if there's any dark spirits in any way, shape, or form that are around us, I ask them to gather and want to give them a light ball, which is Christ. And I was praying for those. I was praying for those who have been so affected by the storms throughout the country. And we actually had a gas leak at our place on Monday. And so we had to shut all of our gas in our house off Monday night. And it was a bit chilly in our home, but not that. It got dropped down to maybe 50 degrees. And so that even more helped me think and pray for those who had been through these storms, who were without power in freezing circumstances. And as I was going to bed and praying the other night, I was like, Heavenly Father, as I'm praying for all these people, I'm like, I just want to send them all a ball. And I don't know how this works in a spiritual realm, but I prayed and I just asked and sent balls of light and expressed to the atmosphere, to God, to everywhere around me.
Angels and these witnesses.
Yes. And I expressed, and these light balls, you can shake it out and it can be a blanket that you can wrap yourself in, and it can keep you physically warm and spiritually warm. And I don't know how that made a difference because I haven't talked to anybody. I don't know anyone personally that was there.
Well, but it made a difference in your life.
It absolutely did. And I trust that it even made a difference for others too.
Okay.
Like feel a change.
Hearts of the Fathers, maybe?
So I woke up. That's interesting, Shane. I woke up 5:30 this morning, only had like 4 hours of sleep. And I'm like, I really need to sleep some more. But I got up and was praying and writing. And I'm like, what is going on? I am noticing there is something going on within me. What is it? And what kept coming to my mind is the hearts of the fathers. Malachi prophesied the heart shall turn. And I searched through my scriptures. I went on LDS tools and you put in the hearts of the fathers and nothing comes up. Nothing. So finally I go to Joseph Smith history where it talks about the hearts of the fathers will be turned. And the footnotes, it's all about temple work. And so I talked to my husband when he got up and I'm like, Michael, this is what keeps coming to me, but there's so much more than temple work. Temple work is important. It's a part of it. But what I did this weekend was able to release the forefathers from bondage. As part of their spirits were stuck in me from the abuse, I was able to release all of that. And now they are free to move forward in whatever manner they want. And how do you really describe that? That to me is powerful. And that's the change I'm seeing.
I got one.
It's strange work. It is a strange work.
Well, I've been called that many a time. Just one more observation, Jill. Working with you, there was an SRA element, and then there was an MK Ultra element. As we approach those, How much resistance was there? Was it that big of a deal?
The SRA and the MK Ultra, by the time we got to that, we worked, I think the bigger time was spent on gathering babies.
Mhm.
But by the time we got to the SRA and the MK Ultra stuff, they wanted to leave. Well, all that just wanted to go play with their light bulbs, as Keith would have put it to me. They wanted to go be with the Savior. For the most part, there was one that didn't. And we thought that it was like, okay, they're all gone. And then Keith would talk to me a minute more and we'd go on to something else. And then he'd be like, okay, so who's still there? And there would be another trespasser or many. And then we'd go on and keep working with another part that was holding stuff. And then Keith would come back and say, okay, who's there? And it came in levels and layers, but it was so easy. It wasn't scary. It wasn't traumatic. It wasn't the little seizures that I would have in church that I had 3 weeks ago in church was way more difficult than going through this. It was.
Well, your situation had a few complications, if I remember right. You had trespassers that were making active choices and deliberate actions, taking deliberate action to slow this work down. Now, most of the time, they don't even want to be discovered, so they just stay in the background and do nothing. And yours, on the other hand, they were pretty active. One of the reasons why it is so easy. I've got to find a better way of saying that, because I do not want to minimize the hell that a person is going through who has had MK Ultra programming or SRA abuse. Okay, and so I don't mean to minimize it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just pointing out. I'm just pointing out that the one of the reasons why SRA clients and MK Ultra clients are easy to work with is because the abuse is deliberate, and it's deliberate to create ultra personalities who will respond with exactness without questioning. So they are compliant to begin with, and once you get inside the system and you talk to those altars, they are already primed to do what's asked of them. So all you have to do is teach them correct principles on agency and let them choose to do something that is beneficial, and then just turn them loose, and they heal the system themselves.
That is so powerful because they were created. They were never given a choice.
Exactly.
And so that's why that makes sense to me. That's why they come forward easy and they comply, because that's all they've ever done.
Okay.
There was a moment where you did teach, because they'd never had a choice. And so we thought we had to always follow the spirit, the ones, they who have always made all the commands.
Mhm.
And it was beautiful and simple. And you were just like, you can choose. And that was a beautiful teaching moment. And everyone, when that was explained, they chose and they wanted the light. They wanted to be able to make that choice and move forward.
Well, it was an honor to be able to work with you. Thank you for allowing that and allowing me that opportunity.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Drain, do you have something you want to share?
Wait,
I'm just so happy.
keep me fair. We got double Shanes over here. So, and we're at an hour and 40 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. So as I started this episode, I got my temple recommend taken away for having Jason Preston on my podcast and talking about SRA. So I took it down. Went to the Lord. The Lord said, yeah, it's not your job to expose it. It's your job to help heal it. So I said, okay, how do I do that? And then it was Keith Redford and El Sal. Okay. So I went to Manti, visited with Keith Redford, and here we are today. So I'm doing my job. And if they want to get mad at me because now I'm talking about us healing those that are suffering from, that are SRA victims, like they can do whatever they want. I am on my Father's errand. I am about my Father's business. I'm not here on man's business. I have given up. Shane Kelly can tell you. I'm only doing what my Father tells me to do. Period. The end. Period. This is what he's told me to do. I still have to go. I still have to pay bills. I still have to do that. If anybody out there wants to talk shiz about this being some kind of thing for me to make money, I know how to make a lot of money. I've made hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate. And if I wanted to make money, I would go make money in real estate or in the stock market, because that's my background. I used to work for Merrill Lynch and I bought $800 million worth of real estate. Not doing that because I understand there's a greater work ahead. I also understand people have to pay their bills. Keith still has to pay his bills. Drea still has to pay her bills. Shane Kelly still has to pay his bills. I still have to pay my bills. All I care about is sufficient for my needs, period, the end. I don't live in an ostentatious house. I live on Main Street in Farmington. And if you're dealing with something, like, you can call me. Drea will pop my number up there. It's 801-675-1509. Reach out to me. I get 300 to 500 texts a day. Shane Kelly has spent a lot of time with me in the past 2 months. Do I respond?
You do amazingly fast.
Listen, I get more in a day than most humans get done in a week because I'm efficient. And because I am sanctified. I don't do certain things. And I've never done certain things. Now, I've done lots of other bad things in my life. But trust me, for those who know me and those who have spent time with me, they know that I am about my Father's business. Period, the end. Because I'm not showing up home empty-handed. I'm going to say I truly gave all my heart, might, mind, and strength. Not just 2 hours on Sunday, not just a couple days a month, like every day, all day. I'm working down here. I know my mission. I know my assignment. It's very clear. I know exactly what I'm to do down here. That doesn't mean that I do everything perfect. And that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes, because I do. Because I got 46 chromosomes, just like everybody else out there. I make bad judgment. I say dumb things. I sometimes make my wife upset. That's what happens. That's what being human is. And I'm trying to get better every day, like we all should be. And thank the good Lord, God Almighty, for the atonement. Because through the atonement, we are able to repent, and I need it just as much as the next guy. So I hope that you will consider, go to liveinvirtue.com. Sign up. You want to check out the Live Path. We have a variety of ways. If you can't afford it, text me. I will figure a way out. I have people that are donating things to me. I'm literally going somewhere to pick up a bag of cash that a guy had a dream about, and he's like, you need this. Now, what's the ultimate goal? I told Keith I would do a couple things for him. I promised him I would do a couple things for him. Oftentimes, I don't know the how, but I know somehow, because I know my God can do miracles. I know he can move mountains. One of the things that we want to do, and we've already identified a location, we want to create a Live Healing Center. There are some people that are going to need to come to a Live Healing Center. Some people that are very sick, very afflicted, and they can't even function in society. And so we want to build a Live Healing Center where people can go that are suffering.
Yep.
Instead of going to Cirque Lodge or instead of going to some of these other places, we want to create a center where they can come to. But in order to do that, I don't have the money. I wish I did. I used to have the money. I don't have the money. Like, this would be the easiest thing for me to solve. Couple $1,000,000, I can do it. That's what it's going to cost. It's going to cost somewhere between $2 to $3 million. I'm in the process of creating a 501c3 so that you can donate to helping us build the Live Healing Center. If you are rich, will you just reach out to me? Seriously, there's nothing better than you can do with your money than to help people stop suffering in a real way. If you want to know if this actually works, I've got a laundry list of people that you can talk to that have received healing through this process. And you can come see for yourself. I spent 6 months just trying to make sure that this was legit. And then the Lord told me, this is legit, and this is how SRA is going to be overcome and how people will be restored. So I said, okay, these are the miracles. Jesus said himself, greater miracles shall you do than you have seen me do. Well, welcome to that day. Welcome to that time. Let's be about our Father's business. So if you're interested, I don't have a 501c3 right now. It's in the process of getting set up, literally in the process with the attorneys. So reach out to me and say, hey, I'd like to donate to that. Maybe it's $5. Maybe it's 500,000. Maybe it's 5,000. Maybe it's 50,000. I don't know. Let's sit down. Let's talk. But we are going to do the right things with the money that gets donated. We are going to use that money to heal people through this process. Now, there are other organizations, the Kidney Foundation, and I've sat on all these boards. And I am telling you right now, they're a scam. They're an absolute scam. I have seen where their money goes. And 70% of it goes to pay for staff. And 30% actually goes to the cause. So then there are other scams out there. And I'm not even going to mention them. So if you feel so inclined to participate in a way, maybe it's 5%. Maybe you say, hey, I want to give 5%. Maybe I want to give 10%. Maybe I want to give 20%. I don't care. We're setting up a plan where you can know, and transparency is a superpower. And in this entity, you're going to see exactly how we use the money. We will show you exactly. And more importantly, we will show you people being made whole. And if you can contribute to that process, like, what more worthy thing could you put your money to than to know that people that are suffering are no longer suffering? I was in the car with my wife 2 days ago. She was just in tears. She was having a baptism of fire. And she's just like, there's too much suffering here. We have got to stop the suffering. We have got to end the suffering. And for those of you who have read the Nemenha record, you know that the shadowy one, his whole purpose was, I've got to help stop the suffering, because the suffering was impacting his planet, his people. Suffering is a vibration. And there's too much suffering on this planet. And because of that vibration, it affects us in Utah. It affects the world. So if we want to change the world, we've got to reduce the suffering. It's a frequency. And this is one of the processes that I have found to reduce the suffering. Now, what's interesting about this is many people that go through it, they're like, yeah, I don't really notice the change, but it's the people around them that are like, oh no, trust me, the change is real. And sometimes when we're losing weight, we're like, and you see somebody that hasn't seen you in a month, they're like, wow, you've lost a lot of weight. And you're like, oh, I have? Like, you don't know it because you see yourself all the time. You know it's working when other people are like, no, I know you didn't think it was that bad, but trust me, I've been dealing with you. So go to liveinvirtue.com. If you want to go on the live path, we have 2 different options for you to go on. If you can't afford either of those 2 options, text me, email Drea. We'll come up with a plan for you to be able to experience this. If you want to be somebody who says, hey, I don't need to necessarily, or maybe you've been healed and you want to help somebody else be healed. And so you want to help somebody else be able to afford this. Like, there are ways we can solve this together. This isn't my plea, like, I need your money, but it's true. Right now, this is the system that we're operating under. We're operating on money. We are still in Babylon. I wish that we weren't. But in order to get out of Babylon, we have got to have no poor among us. And I'm going to say poor in spirit, poor in health. Like, we can start there. It's works. I promise you, I've seen it with my own eyes. And I hope you'll reach out if you're suffering anxiety, depression, multiple personalities, bipolar, ADD, you have trauma, whatever it is, or you're like, I'm doing pretty good, but I don't know what my purpose is. Cool. All of this is for you. And this started out as like, okay, we're just going to really focus on people with porn. And the more I'm dealing with this, I'm like, no. Everybody needs this. Everybody needs this. Everybody has to go through this, because I'm seeing people wake up. It's like they've been resurrected. It's like they were dead and now they're alive. It's like what Alma the Younger experienced. He was out for 3 days. It's what Lamoni experienced. He was out. People thought he was dead, and then he wakes up. He's alive. He's a new being, spiritually reborn. And maybe that's how the resurrection happens. Maybe the resurrection happens within you. So are you going to be a part of the morning of the first resurrection? Ask yourself that question. What is that? And how do we wake that up? And instead of waiting for that to be something that happens in the future, maybe it can happen right now. Right now. Because it is by faith that Enoch was translated. So if you're interested in the translation process, I highly recommend that you go down the lip path. Maybe that's the first step in that process. So with that, Jill, you are awesome. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for saying, hey, I want to be healed. And thank you for being in tune with the Spirit and showing up. You were a late add to that. I remember somebody reaching out saying, hey, we have this person. Can we just have them come? And I'm like, just come. Yeah, send them. And we were over the limit, by the way. Keith's like, we can have many people. And so I pray about it. And it's like, no, they need to be there. So I'm like, Trey is like, but we're over the limit. I'm like, Keith will be fine. He'll get.
Well, and then I was like, then I need my husband to come because I can't go there by myself anyway. So he came too.
And I said, bring him. I said, just come. Just come. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure this out. This is important. When I saw Jill's name, I literally got on my knees and I prayed and I said, I don't know anything about her, Heavenly Father. What do you want me to do? And he said, she needs to be there. This is important. So I said, okay. Like, I can hear the voice of my Father loud and clear. I know it's him because he has me drive across country. I'm literally going across country to Denver because there is a lady that Dr. Shane needs to work with. And after he gets done working with her, then we give her a blessing. We seal it up. She pays Dr. Shane. I don't get paid for this. I'm driving out there to do this. We're going through Denver. We're making some stops along the way. We're going to Salem and a couple other places. By the time this airs, I've already selected a date for this to air. This will air on February the 6th. We will do a replay of this because this is so important. We'll do a replay on Super Bowl Sunday. We'll do a Monday morning special broadcast. And I just, people need to understand that there is hope. The hope is Jesus Christ. And through Jesus Christ, he has revealed a process. When he says much fasting and prayer, much prayer is this. And so let's consider these things. We're willing to pay for therapy and counseling and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Give it a try. Test it out. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Thank you guys. Keith, thank you for coming on. We're going to be doing a lot more with Keith. His book is coming out, and Dr. Shane, and just talking about the experiences that they're having. I would say, Dr. Shane, do you feel like you're living your purpose now?
It feels like everything in my life is finally making sense where I've gone, the path I've gone through.
Did you have a hard time getting out of bed the past 3 years?
It's been rough. It's felt like there's just not a lot of reason. Yeah. Go back into Babylon, work for somebody else just to get by, and just felt very hollow and empty.
And today, doing what you're doing daily. I mean, I'll just tell you every day. He's like, Shane, you're not going to believe what happened today. It's true. And it's every day. And it's every day. And it's every day. And when you find your purpose, when you know your mission, when you're locked in like that, you are so excited for the next day that you can't go to sleep because you're like,
Shane, tell them how about that's how I felt. I tell you all. Like,
yeah,
we're doing.
you guys have no idea. Drea makes like no money around here in comparison. And she literally, I get texts from her at 6 a.m. She's like already pinging me. It's like 9 o'clock at night. She's pinging me. And I'm just like, oh, girl, like, did you eat today? I constantly, literally, we're on the test. What did I text you today?
Eat some breakfast, even if it's little. He was takes care of me.
Little. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, there is nothing more important than being about your Father's business. And if you don't know what that is, well, we have a live path that can help you do that. We'll help you figure that out. So, and also we have some retreats coming. We sold out Bear Lake and literally, we had this waiting list building up and I'm like, okay, if there's another house that's super close by, we'll do another house. And then my wife has a dream. We need to do another house. I'm like, okay, we're doing it. So we found another house. We've opened it up. We've got 27 spots available. We haven't even announced it. Have we already sold those spots yet? Or
I mean, if today is February 8th, when they're seeing this,
no,
I bet there's 2 left. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, come get your spots. Come gather with us. Keith was at our last gathering. Just Keith, and hopefully Keith will come again if I can convince him to come up again. I do have a room set aside.
I'm a little bit busy these days. I finished the first book last night, and I'm starting on the second one today.
Keith, tell Sandy, mark the calendar, March 18th. Is it 18th? Or
I think I might. When is the March training?
The 26th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a weekend before the training. I'm trying to convince Keith to come out because he gave a presentation at the last one. And if you want to talk to him and see him, and he's not going to be doing his thing on you there, but you can at least see it. Hopefully I can convince him to come. But it's March 19th, right? 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Bear Lake. We have opened some spaces up, and we'd love to have you come gather with us. Keith, how was the gathering? You stayed in the Airbnbs. How was it?
Oh, it was fantastic. The thing that impressed me the most was the fellowshipping, the loving atmosphere, and everything was Christ-centered. Everything. And it reminded me of in the Book of Mormon, where we speak of Christ, we preach of Christ, and so that we know, so that our children will know where to turn to. It seemed like everything was focused on that, and there was just a lot of fun and just a lot of fellowshipping that went along. I was very impressed.
We will have, Lacey Bangeter's coming. A lot of people that you've seen on our podcast. Fabrizio is trying to fly in from England to come to it. So we have people that want to be there, that want to come there. And so if you want to see your favorite guest that's been on Zion Media, they're likely going to be there. Dr. Shane will be there. Unfortunately, Dr. Shane, he moved out here to Farmington, and I'm like, okay, you don't know what you just signed up for, but buckle in. He's also going on every road trip with me. So really cool. I know this has been a long podcast. It's been a 2-hour ordeal, but right now this is one of the most important things that is happening. The gathering, and maybe there's another gathering where we're gathering up the altars, making a person whole. Maybe we're gathering up the trespassers and sending them back to Jesus. So maybe the gathering there's a deeper teaching in the gathering. And so, hey, just know this. Church is true. Jesus is the Christ. He's coming back real soon. And I think the prophet said we are going to see some of the greatest manifestations of Christ in the coming days. I think he said that. So let's let's follow the prophet on that one. And let's believe that, and let's exercise our faith towards that. Jill, thank you again for coming on. Drea the bomb, you're the bomb. Thank you. Love you so much. And Keith Redford, freaking dude. This dude's serious. He cut his hair. He says, I'll cut my hair. For those of you who don't know, he played Porter Rockwell. He's got a whole bit. And if he comes up there, one of the things I'm gonna have him consecrate, he's gonna do a bit.
Oh no, I'm not.
Listen.
I cut the hair, man. I cut the hair.
It doesn't, I'll get you a wig.
I'll bring my friends. I'll bring my geek.
So maybe you might see a little Porter Rockwell action up at Bear Lake. So anyways, hopefully I can talk him into I just put him on the spot all the time.
You certainly did.
When he says things, I'm like, I know what I'm doing with this guy. He sure never ever told me that he has a whole bit on Porter Rockwell. So you might just see. So make sure you sign up, come. If I can't convince him to do it on this one, trust me.
There will be others.
I'll get him. All right. For myself, I'm Shane Baldwin. For my friend here, Dr. Shane Kelly, thank you for tuning into Zion Media, and we'll see you guys all next time.